Hi folks, Brian McCormack here along with Casey McCormack for WGSU Sports presentation of Knightwatch, the Geneseo Ice Knights hockey magazine program. We'll spend each Wednesday discussing the past week's action and the week ahead. For Geneseo, last weekend, their home opening weekend against the Morrisville Mustangs, and we learned a lot about special teams.
Yeah, with I think 24 penalties that Geneseo took, and then I believe there were I think there were 6 or 7 power play goals. So it was really a great weekend for the special teams, as you said. But also, really, we saw the new talent, the new additions to the Geneseo Ice Knights, and really stepping in and making an impact right away, and specifically Stephen Collins on Saturday night.
You can't talk about this weekend and not talk about what Stevie Collins was able to do. He's now the leading scorer in the SUNYAC, whether it be through 2 games or not. Rookie of the week and a hat trick on Saturday night, and really a lot of growth we saw between Friday night and Saturday night. He was a different player.
Well, even talking to Coach Schultz on Friday night, you can see how talented he is, the great hands that he has, but just looked a little timid on the ice. Saturday from the start, he was just, you could tell he was out there with a plan and kind of making decisions that he wasn't making Saturday night, specifically out of the corners, stepping out and just making good decisions with the puck.
And significantly, there was no line that really played weakly. You talk about Zach Vitt was in full force Friday night. The Soucis Donnelly Ripple line reunited on Saturday night was phenomenal. And goaltending was solid throughout, with Nick Horgan proving that he can take half the workload this season.
And I think he's going to. Even talking to some of the players after the game, they thought, just as we thought, that Brian Howdy would really take maybe 70% of the games this year. But Nick Horgan was poised, really handling the puck very well, great positioning, good angles, and I think he really did a lot for his game on Saturday night.
Now, negatives coming out of the weekend. Tyler Brickler was outstanding the weekend throughout, but we don't know if we're going to have him for this weekend. We haven't yet gotten a medical update for Tyler Brickler. He did take a hit to the head. They were screening him for a concussion. We do not know if he'll be available for Plattsburgh or Potsdam this weekend, where we're waiting word. Tyler Brickler, an upper body injury. He will likely be out for the weekend. And Nate Brown, we're not sure whether or not he'll be available, but that's not because of an injury. That's because of discipline and what Coach Schultz usually does to handle these situations.
Yeah, well, even last year we saw every time one of the Ice Knights took a 5-minute major and was thrown out of the game, Coach Schultz would keep them out for another game. We saw that with Derek Stahl in the corner. One of those weaker kind of calls. We were talking about the officiating, how they're clamping down on things like interference, but also a hit from behind or a hit to the head that I think was a little weak. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Derek Stahl this weekend. But Nate Brown, after the second period, just kind of making a play that really it wasn't necessary. One of those a bonehead penalty, you might say, and Coach Schultz doesn't like that. He clamps down on that, and I wouldn't be surprised maybe if we don't see him Friday night in Plattsburgh.
Which would be a huge loss for Geneseo, again with a young defense core, as we've mentioned, that did play extremely well this weekend, but they're going into a powerhouse in Plattsburgh. Really, in the second weekend of the season, we already might see Geneseo's most important road trip, and it kicks off essentially an entire month on the road.
Well, even starting 2-0, like you said, you're playing the powerhouse of Plattsburgh in Plattsburgh, a team that's 1-0, started off beating Potsdam 3-0 last Friday night. But they're a team that's so deep. Their young talent is so deep. Their sophomores, as we saw last year in the SUNYAC semifinal, so talented, and their new freshmen are as well. So they're going to have to keep their eyes on guys like Luke Baleshta and Dylan Fox to try and get out, and specifically in their own defensive zone if Nate Brown's missing.
For a little perspective, Geneseo has not won on the road in Plattsburgh since 2007. February of 2007, and 24 penalties this weekend. That's not going to help the cause either.
No, well, even Coach Schultz is saying you can kind of get away with bonehead penalties against a team like Morrisville, a team that last year, halfway through the year, had a power play of 9%. You can get away with those bad penalties. When you're playing teams like Oswego and like Plattsburgh, there's no way you're going to be in the box for 5 or 6 penalties and not have it bite you in the tail. So they're really going to have to play a disciplined game in order to come out of Plattsburgh with a win.
The Geneseo Ice Knights opened the season 2-0, and now they head to the road into a hostile barn in Plattsburgh. 1-0 on the season, as Casey mentioned, and then 0-2 Potsdam. And all the action for those 2 games will be right here on WGSU 89.3. We'll hope you'll join us. Me and Casey will be there every step of the way, and we're looking forward to a great weekend of hockey. Thanks, folks.